The Whispering Pines Country Club had a reputation as pristine as its name. Tucked into the rolling hills outside Savannah, Georgia, the club was a sanctuary for the elite, a members-only haven where deals were made with handshakes and scandals buried under manicured greens. But even the luscious turf couldn't cover the rot when it started growing from the roots. It was on a humid Thursday morning that the first tremor rippled through the club's serene facade. Natalie Ridge, the general manager of Whispering Pines, sat in her office overlooking the 18th hole, sipping from a bone-white porcelain cup when she received an envelope slid under her door. No address. No markings. Inside was a single photograph and a note typed in block letters. Hole 8. Midnight. Or the truth gets out. The photo showed a blurry but unmistakable image: board chair Edward Banning and junior golf pro Daniel Knox exchanging what looked like a thick wad of cash near the maintenance shed behind the 8th green. And Natalie knew exactly what it meant. It wasn't about money. It was about leverage. Daniel Knox was the club's rising star, a former PGA hopeful whose charm and swing could sell anything. Rumor had it he was sleeping with one of the board members' wives, though no one dared say which one. Natalie had seen enough in her 3 years to know this wasn't the first secret to seep through the fairways like slow poison. She folded the photo and slipped it into her blazer. She had less than 12 hours to decide whether to show up at hole 8, or risk everything she had built crumbling into the bunker of club politics and long-held grudges. By lunchtime, the gossip was already swirling. Henry Hank Tolliver, the club's 68-year-old groundskeeper and a man who'd been around longer than the oak trees lining the course, approached Natalie with a grave expression. "I know that look," he muttered. "Seen it before. Something's about to blow." She considered brushing him off but thought better of it. "What did you see, Hank?" "Depends on who's asking. If it's Natalie the manager, nothing. But if it's Natalie the survivor, check the irrigation controls near hole 8. Last night, someone rerouted the cameras. That confirmed it." By the time evening arrived, a slow tension had settled over the club like fog. Daniel was out giving a private lesson to board member Cassandra Banning, the chair's much younger wife. Edward was sipping scotch in the library, flipping through the Wall Street Journal, and Natalie could tell he was watching her from behind the paper. When midnight finally arrived, Natalie made her way across the moonlit fairways, her heels traded for sneakers. The cicadas buzzed loudly enough to muffle her steps. As she neared hole 8, she saw a figure waiting by the maintenance shed. Daniel. He wasn't alone. Another figure stepped out of the shadows, Cassandra. She was holding a manila folder, her hands shaking. Natalie stepped closer, unseen behind a row of hedges. "You told me this was handled," Cassandra hissed. Daniel looked pale. "It was. But someone else knows. Someone who wants money, or blood." Cassandra shoved the folder at him. "You fix this. Or I swear, I'll let it all come out." Natalie snapped a photo with her phone. Then she stepped on a twig. The sound cracked like a gunshot in the dark. Daniel turned. Cassandra gasped. Natalie ran. She didn't look back until she reached the pro shop. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Nice photo. Care to see the ones I have?" Her blood went cold. She wasn't the only one watching. By the time dawn broke over Whispering Pines, Natalie hadn't slept. She'd spent the night combing through her office for any bugs, any traces of surveillance. Whoever was watching her had inside access. She knew better than to go to the police. Nothing stayed quiet in Savannah, especially not when it involved the club. She needed help, but the kind that didn't ask questions. The kind that owed her. She dialed a number from memory. 1 ring. 2. Then, "This is Harper." Natalie's voice was low. "We've got a problem. Whispering Pines. Bring the gear." Harper Cruz was a former journalist turned fixer. They'd crossed paths when Natalie ran operations for a political fundraiser that had almost ended in arrest. Harper cleaned up the mess, and vanished. Until now. By noon, Harper was in the maintenance shed, examining the back of the irrigation panel Hank had mentioned. Wires had been cut and rerouted. A tiny camera lens was wedged near the irrigation display. Harper whistled. "Whoever did this knew your system cold." Natalie handed her the photo of Daniel and Edward. "This is what they want kept quiet. But I'm not sure who's really behind it." Harper scanned the photo. Daniel's a mess. Edward's got motive. Cassandra's got her own angle. But who's smart enough to set this up? Just then, Hank entered. His eyes narrowed at Harper. "She with you?" Natalie nodded. "Then tell her," he grunted. "Someone broke into the server room last night. Cut power for 20 minutes. Long enough to swap hard drives. I checked the logs. Someone's covering their tracks." Natalie clenched her fists. "I need to talk to Daniel. Now." Daniel wasn't answering his phone. But his car was parked outside the tennis courts. Natalie found him behind the equipment shed, smoking nervously. "We need to talk." He flinched. "Natalie, I didn't mean for it to go this far. Cassandra said she'd handle it." "Handle what? The blackmail? The money under the table? Or the cameras you forgot to mention?" His face turned red. "I swear, I didn't know they were watching us. I thought it was just about the bonus. Edward promised me a raise to keep quiet." "About what?" Daniel hesitated. "Cassandra's husband was embezzling club funds. She found out. She hired me to dig around. Then we got involved." Natalie's mind spun. "So you were spying on Edward, on Cassandra's orders, and now someone's spying on you?" Daniel nodded. "And they know everything." Harper decrypted the thumb drive Natalie had found in the maintenance shed earlier that day. It was filled with audio recordings, private meetings between board members, off-the-record votes, even an argument where Edward threatened to bankrupt another member if he spoke up. "This is enough to take the whole board down," Harper muttered. But Natalie wasn't sure anymore if she wanted to. Because the next recording hit too close. It was her voice. From a meeting 6 months ago. A private strategy session with Cassandra about raising membership fees and covering it up as infrastructure upgrades. Natalie had been part of the game. Now someone was playing her. Her phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. Tick-tock. Next hole, 13. Midnight. That night, she went alone. The 13th hole was hidden deep in the course's forested edge. A narrow path led through tall pines, where shadows fell like curtains. At midnight, she arrived. Cassandra was already there. She looked calm. Too calm. "I thought you'd come," she said. "He said you would." "He?" Cassandra stepped aside. Edward Banning stood behind her, arms crossed. "We underestimated you," he said. "You've been digging too deep. So now it's time for a decision." Natalie reached into her coat. Harper's recorder was running. Edward continued. "You want to burn it all down? Go ahead. But you'll go with it." Cassandra smiled. "Unless you join us. Keep things running. Keep it clean. But silent." Natalie stared at them. Then behind them, where Daniel was filming the whole thing. She nodded. "Let's play another round." The boardroom at Whispering Pines was never designed for confrontation. Its polished walnut table and towering windows gave the illusion of transparency and order. But that morning, as the sun cut harsh lines across the carpet, the room buzzed with quiet tension. Natalie stood at the head of the table, flanked by Harper Cruz and Daniel Knox. The board members trickled in one by one: Edward Banning, stoic as ever; Cassandra, radiant but unreadable; and 2 others, Gerald Flint, the treasurer, and Margaret Ennis, an old-guard conservative who clung to club traditions like gospel. "Thank you for making time," Natalie said coolly. "We have a few things to clarify before tonight's member gala." Edward raised an eyebrow. "I hope you're not wasting our time with drama. We've already agreed to move past last quarter's accounting concerns." Natalie didn't flinch. Harper slid a folder across the table. Inside were screenshots, email chains, hidden recordings, account transfers. Gerald blanched. "What is this?" Harper's voice was calm. "Everything. Board manipulation, vote rigging, member payouts under the table. All documented. All time-stamped." Margaret leaned forward. "Where did you get this?" Daniel answered. "From your security system. Someone hacked it months ago. But we got there first." Edward's lips curled into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "So, what's the play here, Natalie? You want to tear it all down?" "No," she replied. "I want a clean house. That means resignations. Immediate. Voluntary. Or this entire dossier goes public. Not just to the members, but to the press, the IRS, and every law firm from here to Atlanta." Cassandra folded her arms. "You're bluffing." Natalie reached into her blazer, pulled out a flash drive, and dropped it onto the table. Try me. The hours that followed felt like a war of attrition. Edward refused to step down. Cassandra offered to make a deal, framing it as a rebranding to protect the club's legacy. Gerald cried. Margaret threatened lawsuits. But when Harper revealed that the files had already been duplicated and stored with multiple third parties, including a local journalist ready to go live, resistance crumbled. By nightfall, resignations were signed. Edward and Cassandra were escorted out before the gala began. But Natalie knew it wasn't over. The gala was a sparkling affair, as if the day's upheaval had never happened. Champagne flowed, and the band played light jazz. But beneath the laughter, the whispers were growing. Everyone sensed something seismic had shifted. Natalie stood by the bar, surveying the room. She felt no triumph, only resolve. Daniel approached, a drink in hand. You did it. I started it, she replied. Let's see how it ends. Harper joined them, glancing at her phone. One last thing. She handed it to Natalie. Text message. From the same number as before. Check the pro shop. Locker 7. They found it empty, at first. Then Harper noticed the air vent above the bench. Inside, they retrieved a second flash drive. Harper plugged it into her tablet. Footage. Not from security cameras. Body cam. It showed Daniel, in Edward's office. Copying files. Planting microphones. Swapping out documents. Natalie stared at him. Daniel's face went pale. It's not what it looks like. Harper closed the tablet. It's exactly what it looks like. You were playing both sides. Natalie's voice was ice. You said Cassandra hired you. She did. But then Edward threatened me. I didn't know who'd win. I wanted to survive. Natalie turned away. A week later, the club was under new leadership. Harper declined any official role but agreed to consult from a distance. Daniel disappeared. Rumor had it he'd taken a job in Mexico. Cassandra filed for divorce. Edward was under federal investigation. And Natalie? She stood by the 8th hole again, watching the morning mist lift. Peace. Until her phone buzzed. New number. Nice work. We should talk. She stared. H? Harper? No. Harper didn't text like that. Natalie smiled faintly. Whispering Pines wasn't done whispering.